The person who hurts you the most isn't your ex. It's not your boss. It's not even the stranger who wronged you years ago. It's your own child, the one you raised, the one you held when they were small, the one you sacrificed everything for. And the worst part, they know exactly what they're doing. Let that sink in. We live in a world that tells parents one thing over and over again: love unconditionally, forgive endlessly, blame yourself when things go wrong. Society doesn't give you permission to admit what you're feeling, that your adult child might be toxic, that the person you brought into this world has learned to weaponize your love against you, that every conversation leaves you emptier than before. But here's the truth no one tells you. Not every child grows up grateful. Not every child honors the sacrifices made for them. And not every child loves you back the way you deserve to be loved. Some of them learn a different lesson. They learn that your devotion is a button they can press, that your guilt is a door they can walk through, that your love has no limit and therefore no protection. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal 7 hidden signs that your adult child might be toxic. These aren't obvious. They're not loud or dramatic. They're subtle, quiet, designed to make you doubt yourself, designed to make you feel crazy for even noticing. And once you see them, you can never unsee them. If you've ever felt insane for noticing something was wrong, if you've ever been told you're too sensitive, if you've ever hung up the phone feeling worse than before you answered, this one's for you. Stay with me, because sign number 1, it's already happening. You just didn't have the words for it. Sign number 1, they only call when they need something. When was the last time they called just to hear your voice? Think about it. Really think. When was the last time your phone lit up with their name and the conversation was just that? A conversation. No agenda. No request buried under small talk. No favor wrapped in a quick hello. Picture this. Your phone buzzes. It's them. For a moment, your heart lifts. You smile before you even answer. You think maybe today is different. Maybe they just wanted to check in. Maybe they missed you. You answer, "Hey, sweetheart, how are you? I was just thinking about you." And for about 30 seconds, everything feels normal. They ask how you're doing. You start to tell them about your week. But then you hear it. That shift in their voice. That pivot in the conversation. So listen, I actually wanted to ask you something. There it is. The ask. Money, a favor, a signature on something, someone to watch the kids last minute, a ride to the airport because their friend bailed. A loan they'll definitely pay back this time. And once you say yes, once you give them what they need, the conversation ends. Gotta run, talk soon, love you, but soon never comes. Not until they need something again. Here's the psychology behind it. Toxic adult children don't see you as a relationship. They see you as a resource, an ATM with feelings, a safety net they never have to thank. They've learned that a little warmth at the start of a conversation opens your wallet and your calendar. That brief, "How are you?" isn't connection. It's a toll payment, a transaction fee before the real request. If you've started dreading their calls instead of looking forward to them, if you feel used instead of loved, that's not paranoia, that's pattern recognition. Your gut is telling you something your heart doesn't want to hear. But being used for favors? That's just the surface. Sign number 2 goes deeper, much deeper, into something you've probably already felt but couldn't name. Sign number 2, they rewrite history to make you the villain. You remember raising them with love. They remember trauma. Same house, same years, completely different stories. And somehow their version is the one everyone believes. Picture this scene. You're at a family dinner. The past comes up the way it always does. Old photos, old memories. Someone mentions a vacation from years ago, and your adult child starts talking. But the story they tell, it's not the one you lived. In their version, you were cold, distant, critical, always angry, never satisfied. They describe a childhood you don't recognize, a version of you that feels like a stranger. You sit there frozen, fork halfway to your mouth, thinking, wait, that's not what happened. That's not how it was. But nobody else is frowning. Nobody else looks confused. Because they've heard this version before. Your child has been telling it for years. To siblings, to cousins, to their partner, to anyone who will listen. And by now it's become the official record. This is called narrative manipulation. And it's one of the most painful weapons a toxic adult child can use. Here's why they do it. They need a villain. Every story needs one. And if they can make you the villain of their childhood, then they never have to take responsibility for who they've become. Your mistakes, however real or exaggerated, become their excuse, their permission slip, their get-out-of-jail-free card for every cruel thing they do now. If you've ever left a conversation questioning your own memory, if you've ever apologized for something you're not even sure you did, if you've ever felt like the history you lived is being rewritten without your consent, you're not losing your mind. You're being erased and rebuilt as someone unrecognizable. But rewriting the past, that's just preparation. That's just laying the groundwork. Sign number 3 is about how they control the present. And it's happening every single day. You just don't see it yet. Sign number 3. They use guilt like a remote control guilt. The invisible leash they never let you off. This is their favorite weapon, the one they reach for first. Because it works. Every single time. Here's how it plays out. You say no to something. Maybe you can't afford it this month. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you just don't want to, and you have every right to feel that way. For once you hold your ground. For once you try to set a boundary. And then comes the phrase, the one designed to crack you open. After everything I've been through. Or maybe it's a variation. I guess I just expected more from my own parent. Or the one that cuts deepest. It's fine. I'll figure it out. Alone. Like I always do. Suddenly your reasonable boundary feels like betrayal. Your no feels selfish. Monstrous. You start backpedaling. You start apologizing. You start offering a compromise that isn't really a compromise at all. It's just surrender with extra steps. And they win. Again. Here's the psychology. Guilt-tripping bypasses logic completely. It goes straight for your nervous system. Straight for that part of you that has been trained since the moment they were born to protect them, to provide for them, to fix whatever is broken. Toxic adult children learn early which buttons trigger that response, and they press those buttons without mercy. But here's the dirty secret, the thing that will keep you up at night if you let it. They don't even believe half of what they're saying. Deep down, they know you were a good parent. They know you sacrificed. They know you showed up over and over again when nobody else did. But admitting that would mean losing their most powerful tool. So they keep the guilt sharpened, ready, loaded, waiting for the next time you dare to draw a line. If you feel like you're constantly apologizing just to keep the peace, if you feel guilty for having needs of your own, if the word no has started to feel dangerous in your vocabulary, that's not love, that's control wearing a mask. But guilt is a blunt instrument, obvious once you see it. Sign number 4 is sharper, quieter, and it targets the thing you love most in this world. Sign number 4, they withhold access to grandchildren. The cruelest leverage doesn't come with a threat, it comes with silence. This is the one that breaks people, the one that brings parents to their knees. Because it doesn't just hurt you, it uses the people you love most as weapons against you. Here's how it starts. You used to see the grandchildren regularly. Weekly dinners, FaceTime calls, birthday parties where you were the first one there and the last one to leave. You had a relationship with those kids, a real one, built over time, built with love. Then something shifted. Maybe you said something your adult child didn't like. Maybe you had an opinion they disagreed with. Maybe you have no idea what happened at all. And suddenly, nothing. No calls, no invitations, no photos sent to your phone. When you text to ask about seeing the kids, the reply takes hours, sometimes days. When it finally comes, it says the same thing. We're really busy right now. Maybe next month. But next month comes, and nothing changes. You see photos online, the kids at the park, the kids at a birthday party, the kids with the other grandparents. Everyone's there except you, and you realize you're not being scheduled around, you're being punished. Here's what's really happening. Your grandchildren have become bargaining chips, currency in a negotiation you didn't agree to. The message is clear, even if it's never spoken out loud. Fall in line, stop having opinions, stop setting boundaries, or lose access to the people who call you grandma or grandpa. And here's what they'll never admit. They know those grandchildren are your weakness. They know you would swallow your pride, your dignity, your entire sense of self, just to hold those kids again. They're counting on it, they're betting on it, and every time you cave just to get an invitation to Christmas, they learn the lesson again. This works. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells just to see your grandchildren, if you've stopped voicing your opinions because you're terrified of being cut off, if you've become a smaller, quieter version of yourself just to stay in their lives, that's not family. That's hostage negotiation with a smile. But withholding access, that targets your external world. Sign number 5 goes after something more personal, something internal. It goes after your mind. Sign number 5, they gaslight you into doubting reality. You're not crazy. They just need you to think you are. This is psychological warfare. Quiet, persistent, devastating. And by the time you recognize it, you might not even trust your own recognition anymore. That's exactly how it's designed to work. Here's the scene. You bring up something they said, something hurtful, something you remember clearly because it's been echoing in your head for days. You finally find the courage to address it, and they look at you like you've lost your mind. I never said that. You're imagining things. Why do you always twist everything I say? Wait, but you remember. You were there. You heard the words come out of their mouth. You know what happened, but their denial is so confident, so calm, so utterly convinced that you start to waver. Did they say it? Maybe you misheard. Maybe you're remembering wrong. Maybe you are too sensitive like they always claim. By the end of the conversation, you're apologizing for something they did, for something you know they did, but you can't hold on to that knowledge anymore. It slips through your fingers like water. This is gaslighting, and it's one of the most insidious forms of manipulation that exists. Here's why it works. It doesn't attack your argument. It attacks your ability to make arguments at all. Over time, it erodes your confidence, your memory, your sense of self. If you can't trust your own perception, then you can't hold anyone accountable, including them. And here's the part that makes it almost impossible to explain to others. They save this behavior for private moments. In public, they're charming, warm, the perfect loving child. It's only behind closed doors that the mask slips. It's only alone with you that they become someone else entirely. So when you try to describe it, you sound paranoid, dramatic, even to yourself. If you've started keeping notes after conversations just to prove to yourself that you're not losing your grip on reality, if you've begun to doubt memories you know are real, if you feel confused and foggy after talking to them in a way you don't feel with anyone else, that's not age, that's not stress, that's a campaign, a deliberate, systematic campaign to make you question everything so they never have to answer for anything, but making you doubt yourself. That's just the setup. Once you're off balance, once you can't trust your own mind, they move to sign number 6, the one designed to make sure you have no one left to turn to. Sign number 6. They turn other family members against you. They don't just want to hurt you, they want an audience. Isolation is the goal, and they achieve it by making sure that everyone you might lean on has already heard their version of the story, the version where they're the victim, and you're the problem. Here's how you notice it first. Something feels different at family gatherings. Your sibling who used to call every week seems distant now. Your cousin avoids eye contact. Even your spouse seems hesitant around certain topics. Conversations get quieter when you walk into the room, and nobody will tell you why. Then piece by piece you start to find out. Stories have been told, private conversations repeated, things you said in frustration twisted and passed along. You've been painted as difficult, overbearing, toxic. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. By the time you realize what's happened, you're standing alone in a room full of family who no longer sees you clearly. People who knew you for decades now look at you sideways, and your adult child is standing in the middle of it all looking confused and concerned, like they have no idea how this happened. This is called triangulation. Using third parties to create conflict and control relationships. Here's why it's so effective. Your adult child doesn't have to lie outright. They just select. They share your worst moments stripped of all context. They repeat the things you said when you were pushed to your limit without mentioning what pushed you there. They describe conflicts, but only their half of them. And they always seem so reasonable when they do it. So worried. So reluctant. I'm not trying to cause drama. I'm just really concerned about Mum lately. She's been so difficult. I don't know what to do. That concern is a costume. What's underneath is strategy. But turning your world against you still leaves you one thing. One anchor. Your sense of self. Your knowledge that you did your best. Sign number 7 is where they go after that last remaining foundation, and it never stops. Not ever. Sign number 7, they make you feel like a bad parent no matter what. This is the final wound, the one that bleeds forever if you let it. You did your best. Somewhere beneath the doubt and the guilt and the exhaustion, you know that. You showed up. You worked extra shifts. You stayed when it would have been easier to leave. You made sacrifices they will never know about because you never told them. You didn't want credit. You just wanted them to be okay. But somehow, in their eyes, it's never enough. It will never be enough. And slowly you start to believe them. Here's the trap. No matter what you did, they will frame it as damage. You gave them too much. Smothering, controlling, didn't let them breathe. You gave them space. Emotionally unavailable. Checked out, didn't care enough. You were strict about rules, rigid, harsh, created trauma. You were lenient and flexible. No boundaries, chaotic, left them without structure. You worked hard to provide, never present, chose career over family. You stayed home with them, never achieved anything, gave them a bad example of ambition. Do you see the pattern? There is no winning move. There is no version of you they will accept, because acceptance was never the goal. Power is the goal, and as long as you're trying to prove yourself, as long as you're reaching for approval that never comes, they hold all of it. This is what psychologists call moving the goalposts. Every time you get close to meeting their standard, they shift it. You can spend your whole life chasing their validation and never catch it. That's not an accident. That's the design. And here's what keeps you awake at night. What burns even when you try to forget it. They'll compare you to other parents. My friend's mom would never say something like that. They'll praise strangers who did nothing for them. They'll write glowing social media posts about mentors and teachers and in-laws. People who didn't raise them. People who didn't sacrifice for them. People who never stayed up wondering if they were enough. But you get the audit, the endless audit, every flaw catalogued, every mistake remembered, every imperfect moment held up as evidence. You've heard the phrases. I talked to my therapist, and we discussed how you affected me, but they never mention what they're doing to you now. You never really understood me, after decades of trying. The Mother's Day post that thanks everyone except you. The Father's Day silence that says more than words ever could. If you've spent years trying to earn approval that never comes, if you feel like a failure despite everything you did, if their voice of criticism has become the voice inside your own head, the one that tells you that you weren't good enough, that's not parenthood. That's programming, and it was installed on purpose. You are not a bad parent. You are a targeted one, and there is a difference.